So my final response to her is, most people buy a new puppy when they want attention. I suggest you try that. Move on, lady. It's been 8 years since the Oscar, 3 years since our radio interview. Stop living in the past. Find your new purpose outside of Hollywood, and I wish you all the best. When I say from my heart of hearts, I wish Monique all the best. I don't know what is going on with her. I believe that there's some type of mental disconnect now. I believe that something has gone awry. I would say for her to go on Iyanla, Fix My Life, but she'll never work on OWN because OWN and Oprah Winfrey are on the list of people that she'll never work with. What do you mean, John? What do you mean the list of people? Oh, there is a list of people who would never work with Monique ever again. So let's discuss them. Lionsgate, they did Precious. Tyler Perry, she disrespected him. Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, I'll get to the Oprah Winfrey thing in a minute. OWN, Oprah's network. Lee Daniels, for all the obvious reasons. Fox, Will Packer. I'm going to tell you about the Will Packer situation. ABC, she was up for a job there recently. They didn't hire her because of her reputation. BET, the CEO there said working with Monique was one of the worst experiences of her career. CBS and The Talk. Now, she's online begging Cheryl Underwood to put her on The Talk, but she was disrespectful to Julie Chen, who's married to the chairman of CBS, when she was on Sway in the Morning. Do you think you'll ever work in CBS talking about Julie Chen? So, CBS. TV Land. I had a friend who had a meeting at TV Land, and the president of the network said that they were going to take a meeting with Monique, and then heard of her reputation and canceled it. Netflix, and lastly, Universal Pictures. Universal Pictures is where she did Almost Christmas. Why wouldn't Universal Pictures want to work with her? Almost Christmas came out. Monique appeared to promote it. She seemed to do a good job. Yeah, I thought so too. Till I got this email forwarded to me by somebody, and it's Will Packer addressing that husband of hers with some of the things that Monique was doing behind the scenes. So let me share with you some of the things that happened behind the scenes at Almost Christmas so that you understand why Monique is unemployable in this business. And mind you, there's so many stories I could tell as I sit here in front of all of my awards, like her and Sydney stood there in front of all of their awards. I got my award from DECA, marketing. I got my Fake Academy Award. I'm here with my awards tonight, too, since awards are the theme of why we're having this dialogue. But let me find a place in the that I can read without, Let's see here. So at one point in the email that was forwarded to me by someone else, Will Packer says, myself, my team, and Universal staff have gone out of their collective ways to bend over backwards to make Monique feel comfortable and respected during every step of this process. You have rejected reasonable attempts at positive and proactive communication. Monique is an immensely talented actress who deserves better representation than that. Even all of Hollywood is telling her, that husband of yours is going to ruin everything. And to think that you have directed your vitriol at someone who was an advocate when it was time to cast this film, even though I was warned by numerous people around the industry about hiring Monique, primarily because of the transactional cost of dealing with you. So, translation. What Will Packer is saying here is everybody in this business told me it was a bad idea to hire you. I hired your wife despite the fact that people told me not to, and now that I'm in the thick of things with you, I realize you're the reason that nobody wants to hire her. He continues, I pushed for her. Your reputation precedes you, and I still advocated wholeheartedly to have Monique involved in this production. I said I will not allow what others are saying about my sister to keep me from giving an opportunity to a tremendous talent. And now, here you are being true to past form, attempting to swindle additional money from a production studio producer. Oh, well, what do you mean swindle money? Well, apparently, at multiple times while shooting this movie, that husband of hers went to the studio to try to shake them down to get more money from Monique for various ancillary things and complaints. Hold on, there's a race issue in here that I want to deal with. And I read, I understand you have brought up issues with production. Let's spend a little moment there. Your accusations are unfounded. You took major issue and exception to the number of white people on the crew, despite the fact that I pointed out how extremely diverse our film crew was and that we had an overwhelming majority of black department heads. Pause. So apparently there's reverse racism going on here. Apparently Monique and that husband have a problem with white people and kept complaining about white people being employed on this movie. And I read, you and Monique treated many of the various hourly employees on our crew horribly. Now, mind you, this is Will Packer, the executive producer of Almost Christmas, sending this email directly to that husband of Monique's. You and Monique treated many of our various hourly employees horribly. It got so bad that I needed to remind both of you that you should direct your irritation and angst not to the PAs, EPK videographers, and assistants, but to me. Thus, the HNIC comment was born when I felt the need to let you know where the buck stopped. So apparently, Will Packer stepped to them after they kept harassing and treating the aforementioned employees terribly, and he went to them and said, if you got problems on this set, you come to me. We all laughed about it and agreed to move forward in the spirit of positivity. And then something changed. You smelled an opportunity. Your subsequent faux outrage around that phrase, even going so far to spell out N-word and forward it around in an attempt to make it seem more egregious, is disingenuous. Especially coming from one of the funniest and foulest mouth comedians of her generation, who has even referred to me as the N-word. But even still, once you expressed that you took issue with the phrasing, I apologized immediately. We should have moved on, but that would have not have helped your agenda of trying to get additional money any way you could. So because the executive producer said that I'm the HNIC on this movie, that husband of Monique's went to the studio, filed complaints about him, and asked for more money because of it. Sounds like Hollywood extortion to me. And how is the man married to a woman who is on her personal Periscope podcast saying she wished she could call me and the rest of these people MFers, mad about him using the HNIC acronym to describe himself? Like, really? Oh, let's go ahead and finish the letter off. Let me cut to the chase. You've been trying to renegotiate your deal since you made it. You tried any and everything to get additional money from production, and now you're doing the same with marketing. That's part of the reason that the Precious campaign fell apart. Your reputation precedes you, so I understand this is your modus operandi. You are trying to get rewarded for your bad behavior. Your client has been asked to do less than many of her castmates that are working their tails off to promote this movie, while still being given at your demands more than anybody else. We are ecstatic to have Monique be a part of the Almost Christmas campaign, and I hope she'll continue to do so in an effort to ensure the success of the movie without expectation of additional compensation. Sometimes, this is the best thing Will Packer could have said to them. Sometimes you have to sit back and look at yourself for the reason why your career is where it is. Sometimes it's not the industry. It's not Lionsgate. It's not Universal. It's not Oprah. It's not Lee Daniels or Will Packer or white people. Sometimes you have to say, maybe it's me. And that's the problem with Monique. And that's the problem with that husband of hers. Because they sit and they do these videos and they talk to a group of disenfranchised people who feel that the man is trying to hold them down. And they say, Monique is trying to help us. She's for the people. Power to the people. And they get behind her foolishly, not shaking the story at its core, not digging deeper and researching. And no shade or disrespect to the bloggers that are out there or some of the less experienced journalists who are out there, and they take social media headlines and a little bit of a video, and they don't call publicists, and they don't call and verify facts. They just take social media posts and create whole stories around them, because for them it's all about clicks. It's not about being factual and actual. And so nobody has ever asked, why isn't Monique working, and what happened with these last few projects, and how has she only been hired for 2 projects since winning an Academy Award 8 years ago? They don't do it. So instead, Monique, because she's a masterful manipulator, she always finds a legitimate cause like Me Too and Time's Up, and she attaches herself to the cause, so it makes it hard for you to differentiate between addressing her and addressing the cause. So when Wanda Sykes, who was on the Tom Joyner Morning Show today, and she said, I'm not advocating for a boycott of Netflix. There's too many jobs over there, and I will probably work with them again. When she tweeted Monique, she wasn't tweeting Monique to say, I stand with you and boycott. She was tweeting Monique to say, Netflix offered me a low offer too, but I went somewhere else. Move on. Now, then you have Jada Pinkett Smith put out a statement saying, you might not like Monique or her tactics, the way that she says things, but the reality is that she has a good point. Monique doesn't have a good point. Time's Up had a good point, and they've been all over the news. They've been all over the award show. The reason why people were wearing all black to the Golden Globes, the reason why people are wearing white flowers to the Grammys, the reason why this whole movement is going forward and women are asking for what they deserve and getting what they deserve is because this movement has been in place. Monique is the leech who jumps onto the legitimate movement so that she can try to justify her irrelevant cause. Well, what do you mean irrelevant cause, John? What if she felt like she was more worth more than the $500,000? What if you... Here's the thing. Stories, more details are coming out about this Netflix thing now. And the reality is that apparently Monique was offered $3 million to come in and showcase for the network executives so that they could make sure she was worth the $3 million for her comedy special. She was offended that they asked her to come in and showcase, and so she decided, I don't want to do that. So they said, well, if you don't want to come in and showcase for the comedy executives, well then cool. We'll give you a $500,000 flat offer. Now, when she cut that video standing against the wall looking like she was in a dungeon somewhere, like someone was holding her hostage and asking us to rally behind her and boycott because of the disinjustice that happened to the Rosa Parks of Hollywood, she didn't share with the fact that she was offered $3 million and her ego wouldn't let her go in there and meet with the people. And oh, by the way, for anybody, and I don't understand why you would, but for anybody who says, well, Monique is as good or as talented or whatever as Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, and Amy Schumer, one word separates Monique from all of these people. Chris Rock, arena. Dave Chappelle, arena. Amy Schumer, arena. All 3 of them are currently selling out arenas. Monique played a comedy club in New York last weekend. A comedy club in New York. I probably should have went online and pulled the seating capacity of the club she was in. They 3 sold out arenas. Monique is in a comedy club. Netflix does analytics and algorithms to determine how many viewers will you bring to our network. The people who are selling out arenas, the likelihood of them bringing in more viewership is greater than the woman who is only in the comedy club. I had a comedian call me the other day. Won't say her name, but Monique had just played a Funny Bone club in the Midwest, and this particular female comedian was coming into the Funny Bone after Monique left. They said she treated the food staff horribly. First of all, them people are bringing your food from the kitchen to your dressing room. Why would you treat them bad? Don't you know they could spit in your food and stir it up and stuff like that? Haven't we learned that the only people that you, even if you're the nastiest of nasty people, why would you treat wait staff bad? They can poison you. But I digress. This particular comic said, the fact that I am playing the same clubs as Monique, I don't know why she thinks she would get the $500,000 offer. True talk. But nobody wants to look at the deeper issue here. Now Monique is saying, well, look at my resume. Queens of Comedy ain't, was that 20 years ago? You're not playing large arenas, large venues now. You are in clubs. And oh, you want to reference your Academy Award and that you're the most decorated comic alive? Well, baby, nobody gets an Academy Award for stand-up comedy. You get an Academy Award for acting. And the acting role you did, you were a beast of a mother. You threw your TV down the steps at your daughter, and you had your daughter molest you. So what about that role would warrant anybody paying you more money for a comedy special? If somebody can answer that, put it in the thread. Where's the equality in the math there? Because it doesn't add up to me. Oh, but what about her social media? Have you looked at her Instagram? Oh, Monique got his workout videos. Maybe she should have went to Netflix and asked for a Zumba special. Maybe they would have paid her for that, since her whole page is full of workout videos.
Now, the rest of this is going into a level of pettiness. Jawn Murray decides that he wanted to come out and address his back and forth he was having with Monique. He did her show like 3 years ago where they sat down and did an interview, and she was like, basically talking about him when she went on this radio show with Sway in the Morning. And she wished she could call him an MF and all that stuff and blah, 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 blah. I really don't deal with him or anything that he does. Here's the situation. Not that I have a personal agenda against him. I just don't deal with him. And that's just it. Like, none of his shows I don't really watch, but he makes very valid points here, and he points out a lot of things that Will Packer himself sent the email. Here's the thing. If you're Will Packer, why are you going to send Jawn Murray to do it? Why is Jawn Murray doing this? But that's how Hollywood works. They feel they are too big to go ahead and do this. They feel we are too big to sit back and do something like this. That's their attitude. Their attitude is, I'm too big for this. So if your attitude is that you feel you're bigger than everybody else, then that's how it's going to play out in the end. Will Packer should have delivered that to the media, had that released out to the world. And a lot of you going to be like, well, why should he have done that? It's a very simple reason why. Because it was involving him. You see, when something's involving you personally, you don't let another person go and deliver your message. Put it out in the news world where everybody can read it for themselves. If you don't want to say it out loud, don't send it to Jawn Murray so he can read it all over social media. Because now you're basically reading someone else's opinion. But the point in the email was very valid. If you listen to Monique's show, she seems completely overwhelmingly brainwashed by this crazy husband of hers, who seems to have her hell-bent on doing things his way and the way he likes it. And he's the man. He's always at the middle of every situation. Now, I'm not saying I was in there, I know every detail about what happened. I don't. But when all these situations seem to blow up, that should have worked perfectly for her. Like, oh, this is a role that should have went very well for her. And it didn't. It's like, well, what was the problem here? And now it falls into the level, into the mindset that everyone can get around. See what I told you about Monique not telling the full story? When she first came out and made the statement, I was like, man, Monique needs to tell us the full story. Because if we don't have the full story, We cannot sit there and sympathize with you. You didn't tell us all the details because the details didn't fit with her agenda. So you can't call out people like Charlemagne and Steve Harvey and Tony Rock for not supporting your Netflix boycott. You have not given people enough to go off of. You were offended that they wanted you to come in and showcase for the executives. And you were going to get $3 million. You never mentioned that. Because that would have went negative towards your agenda. So if you're not going to disclaim, to reveal that to the public, only reveal what you want it to, no one's ever going to believe you or follow you now. Nobody was following it anyway because they just like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Sorry about that. Got this cold stuck in my throat. But now that that's all said and done and everything is done from that, what lesson did we learn here? This could have been the final blow in Monique's career. Because now that she's working at these chicken shacks, comedy clubs, even they're getting tired of her. And when her career is over, she turned back and she look at that husband, he gonna leave. He leaving. And she gonna realize in the end, I should have left you a long time ago. You ruined my career and my life. Well, some people gotta learn the hard way. I'm out.